Hi everyone. Well, if you haven't guessed it, today we'll be talking about swimming pools. It's scorching hot in the summer. But wouldn't it be nice to have a pool? Well, here's a few things to consider before you actually go ahead and take the plunge, so to speak. Okay, so you decided you want to put a pool in, but out of ground pool or in ground pool? Horses for courses to a certain extent. In this particular case here, we've gone for an out of ground pool basically because we're in terrace gardens. We couldn't get a digger in here. Price wise, the smaller out of ground pools are a cheap option, let's say. When you get onto the bigger out of ground pools, the additional work needed and kit, when you compare it to a basic in-ground pool, can be fairly comparative. You need to talk to different suppliers and see what they say. After that, the full-blown in-ground pool is always a nicer factor, but do you need it? Do you need that size? If it's just you and your family in a 2-3 bedroom house, do you need an Olympic-sized pool? I don't think so. And don't forget as well, when you're actually pricing up your pool, the prices shown by the sides in the catalogues is for the actual basic kit, and usually is pretty basic. They actually have set up the stuff with the filtration system maybe and all this, but they often choose the minimal acceptable filtration for that pool, minimal acceptable heating system for that pool. It's probably best if you actually step up a level at least on each one to get more power and a better lifespan out of them. So that is an additional cost to take into account, but often is worth the difference. Cost wise, well, it all depends on the size and style. Let's say if you're going for a basic solid out of ground small pool, you're probably talking about £5,000. If you're going for a basic in-ground pool, you're probably talking about 15 grand. I'm talking about bog basics. Then obviously that goes up the bigger you go. If you go for like, I don't know, 6x8 in-ground pool with cover, well, you could be earning up to 80,000 euros, if not more. But when you are thinking about putting a pool in, don't forget to think about the value of your property, because you never get the money back from the pool. It's an added bonus for the sale, but it's not necessarily an investment, let's say. For a house with an outground pool, it's more of a sales point. For a house with an in-ground pool, it's more of a case of about adding, but depending how good new the pool is, let's say 10 to 15,000 euros onto the price. If you're going to be paying 80,000 for a fully all singing and dancing covered pool, you hardly ever get your money back. But in the meantime, it's still a really nice place to enjoy. The first thing you need to sort out is planning permission. Admittedly, if you're going for an out-of-ground pool which is less than 10 metres square, or a pool which is going to be up there less than 3 months in the year, then you don't need planning permission. If you're building an in-ground pool or an out-of-ground pool which is over 10 metres square, then you will be needing planning permission. Planning permission can take up to 2 months to come through, to plan ahead. And another thing to take into account is the fact is, with all this global warming going on, in certain areas of France, mainly the south, there actually are banning the construction of new pools. So check out with your local authorities whether you can put a pool in or not. If you are in the actual buying process of a house, it can be put in as a suspensive clause. When it comes to siting the pool, a lot of you think that it would be nice to actually literally walk out of the house onto the terrace and into the pool, which admittedly during the summer months is glorious. But for the rest of the year, when you're not using the actual pool, well, it's sitting there covered over right in front of you, and more a pain in the neck than anything else. Many people choose to site the pool further away from their house, where it's out of sight during the winter months. Don't forget though, the further away you site it, you will need to run water and electrics up to where you're putting the pool in for the actual maintenance and upkeep. Another thing to take into account when you are siting the pool, it needs to be at least 3 metres away from the border. And for those of you who actually want to go down the do-it-yourself kit route, don't forget the bigger pools will need a concrete base, whether that be an in-ground pool or an out-of-ground pool. The weight factor is still there. That concrete base can take anything up to 2 weeks to dry before you can actually put anything on it. So plan that into your time factor as well. And while we're talking about time factor as well, Don't think you fill your pool up in a couple of hours. It'll probably take a day or two just to fill it with water, especially if you're in certain areas of France where the water pressure is fairly low. Don't forget as well that that is a lot of water in a pool. This isn't a particularly big one, and I believe it's 24 metres cube of water. Knowing that your monthly allowance for a family in France is 3 cubic metres, that's 8 times more. So don't be surprised if you get a big hefty bill from the Water Authority when you first fill your pool up. When ordering your pool, don't forget to actually order an alarm system for it. Multiple choice options on that, but talk to your dealer. But you need a security system on your pool. If you don't, you actually risk a fine of 45,000 euros. Special conditions for out-of-ground pools if they're over a certain height. Other than that, they will need an actual security system. If your place is a holiday home, don't forget as well, it's going to need some upkeep. It needs fairly regular checks. Whether you're using chlorine or salt, it will need checking now and again, and various top-ups, including top-ups on water if it gets really hot. So, if it is a holiday home, think about getting someone in on a regular basis just to check the pool. That has its cost, but pools do have a cost. One last point, don't forget you will be paying more annual taxes on your house if you do have a swimming pool. Well, taking into account all the extra cost and things you need to sort out just to get a pool, is it worth it? Well, I suppose you could say, is it worth having a sports car to drive around London? Made your mind up yet? For or against it? Well, with even all those actual different things to take into consideration, I think you can see my choice. Bye. Oh yeah, and don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell button. Bye!